I went to college and I painted. My family thought, painting was a nice thing for a girl to do. Meanwhile, they didn't know that I was knitting away at college and adding very handily to my allowance. I was the Argyle sock fixer for a couple years. They were the style then, and I was getting my hair cut one day and somebody said, "Oh, that's a nice design. Where did you buy that?" I said, "Well, I did it." So she said, "Well, would you do one for me?" Well, it led to a business that I had for 10 years. And then when this catalog came from the new school, I thought, oh, weaving, maybe I'll try that. I signed up for a course with a woman by the name of Gail Wimmer, who had studied in Poland. What Gail was doing was a new experience for everybody because they were all these off-loom techniques, like crocheting. Well, I was a whiz at that. Coiling, all basketry techniques, working on a loom, no loom, where the warps just hung free. And I found it all really very fascinating and exciting. And I stayed there for 3 years. And it was a really bonding experience with other artists. She announced one day, which I already knew, that she was leaving. The end of the summer came, and the one who said, "What are we going to do?" called me. She said, "When are we going to get together?" So I said, "Okay." So we picked a day, a Thursday, and 4 other people came to my house. That was in 1977. After the first year, we thought, well, what should we call ourselves? Well, we're going to call ourselves the Textile Study Group of New York. The Textile Study Group has really been a big part of my life. It's 45 years. It's, while I had the business, I went 3 summers to Skidmore. I did learn to work on a harness loom, but I realized I would never be really good at it, but first, I would never really like it. The thing I liked about knitting and about some of these other off-loom techniques is you're doing it yourself and there's no obstacle between you and what you're doing. I came home for the weekend and driving back, I never drove through a rainstorm like that. So I pulled over and I sat there in this hail and lightning, and it was like sheets of water over the car. This was really such an experience. So I was making a piece up there and what to do about this rain. So I found some plastic tubing. I got it, I painted it, and then I had to attach it. So I found some wire in the studio and I used the wire to attach it. I thought that was really interesting. I liked working with that material. So that was really sort of my first adventure with non-traditional materials. Shortly after Skidmore, there was a conference, workshop, everything in Ithaca, New York, on knotting and nets. Well, it took me a long time, but now I do, I would say at least half or more of the work that I do is knotted. The first big piece was 13 nets. It was just a different idea and a different way of working for me, and I really loved it. And someone in the Textile Study Group, she said, she was coming to me, she arrived at the house, she said, with this little bag, she said, "I thought you might like this." It was wire, it was telephone. And I thought, interesting. And then my husband saw it, and a few weeks later, he called, he said, they're redoing the telephone system in the office building. So I went down and I saw this telephone wire. Wow, there was a lot of it. Each bunch is about this big. Well, there were about 6 of them. When I began to want to make freestanding things. It just wasn't working so well. But I had this wire already, so I tried it and I really liked it. That was how I started with wire. And I've used annealed steel wire also. And I like the structure of it. And I've always been very interested in architecture and building. And it was kind of a natural fit. The geometrics of the city are really quite wonderful. And it's something that, yes, definitely influenced my work. And I have done a lot of tall freestanding pieces, some of them with things in them and some of them empty. After I started using the wire with some of that early telephone wire, I made a box. So I was stepping out into a freestanding piece with new materials. Well, I had the wire and I used plastic tubing and beads. So I put it all together in that one little piece. It's sort of like knitting, I guess, but less mechanics that are involved, the better I like it. You know, I like just being able to use my hands and not have a loom. American craft, I think in some ways it's having more of an impact now because people are kind of intellectualizing it in a good way. I mean, it's not just a craft fair. I mean, they're trying to engage people in a different way, I think. Better.